I'm going to start this episode and possibly this new series off by just shocking everybody and showing how repetitive the fire narrative is. A key that we have found right here on this channel. A key that, in my opinion, is a nod to the group that set all of these narratives up and put them into place, while attempting to explain how these incredible buildings all over the world that were clearly built before our civilization got here, and attempt to fit them into their fabricated timeline. And I'm gonna make this game even harder for myself and put a rule in place. And if you all enjoy this game where I go to a city and see how many old world buildings that I can find that supposedly went up in flames, let me know in the comments below. I'll make it into one massive playlist. So the one rule I'm going to put in place for this game is that I cannot leave the city that we are discussing. And in this case, it is Edinburgh, Scotland. Every single one of these items of interest that I'm about to show will be within a single city. Are you ready to have your mind blown? Here we go. Fettes College, established in 1870, 154 years ago. Following serious fires, the swimming baths were rebuilt in 1890, and the chemistry laboratory was rebuilt 7 years later. Forth Bridge, opening 134 years ago, where 3 passed away in a fire. Advocates Library, opening in 1689, so we are told. 335 years ago, predating the power tool by 206 years, where Thomas Hill Jameson had to deal with a fire that damaged thousands of books in 1875, with all of these mysterious fires coincidentally coming right around the exact same time, which is very interesting in itself if you ask me. The Theatre Royal, Edinburgh, Scotland, opened in 1769, which marked the very first building on the incredible Prince's Street, which we've shown in episode 67. The whole street is straight out of the old world, and I can't wait to get back there and see it. This theater was rebuilt in 1830 by another Thomas. But why was it rebuilt? What happened to the first one? Are you still on the fence? Should I show you how these narratives are all connected all over the world, all put into place by the same group, and have been waiting for us to uncover this information for decades? Are you ready to have some fun? When the theater burned down in 1865 and was rebuilt 3 times, in 1865, 1875, and 1884, each time retaining the patent. And I'm not done. The narrative goes on to say that it was ultimately destroyed by a fire in 1946, a 4th and final fire, and was not rebuilt when we were all here to see them attempt to put this place back together. And we're just getting started today. Welcome to episode 68 of my lunch break. I hope you're all having a great day. And if you're new, welcome. And I want to thank all of our sponsors over on Patreon. Thank you to FlatEarthDave.com. You can check out his app. I'll put the link in the description, and you can use my referral code, MLB. He also has my lunch break on the homeschool section of the app, which is really cool. Thank you to Rebecca K, Don Gaston, Christopher Arietta, The Lady Lacey Show, David and Sherry Ferguson, Edwin Johnson, Chuck Templeton, Joy Lee, PNR, Stephanie Nolan, The Burlesons, Suez KC, Dan Woodall, Dale, DJ Clicktrack, Edward and Brianna, Jacob Law, Jim Ribley and Christine Duggan, Kyle Glascock, Tim Rack, William Richard Jeffries V, PKTFnews.org, Regna Saturna, Dendries NL, Juana Mesher, Sirius Feline, G Power, Natalie Shippenoff, TheGoldenTeacher.co, Amberson EMC, Blake, H.K. Sue, Isaac Wright, Melissa Edgar, Biggles, Clayton Lamar, Ultimus Maximus, Lee Anderson, Noble Task Homestead, John Adams, My Hubby is Awesome, Rick Tapkey, Ryan and Laney Benner, The Arnolds, 3D6 Space, Attila Power, VKH Bonner, Jason Neufeld, Rod James, Bell's Clarions for God, Forbidden Gecko Love, Justin Grobner Grubb, Leah Strong, Peter Batani, Buck Sui, Dakota Dunn, Eric Martinez, Ivan Apoctoli, Jesse DeLeon, Jim Bro, Kit Kat, Todd K, Edwin Rice, Helmut, Charles Kruger, Daniel Zid, Glenn Gunderson, Pacific Crafted, HaggardT-shirts.com, Meta, Jason Hochberg, Marie C., Roy Schoenholtz, Wayne T., James Alt, Dan McGee, Vince Moreno, Samir Schwery, Stony Stargod, Roz Matthews, Shibba Shaba in the Darkness. You guys are all awesome and helping this channel out a lot. Grey Friars Kirk, when they found it in 1620, 404 years ago, in a time period where we have shown in episode 63 that the population worldwide was much smaller and much closer to 12 million people worldwide. Yet we are told that palaces with no power tools were going up no problem. No education programs, no shipping companies. All of this was not an issue. And the mainstream narrative thinks that we should all just overlook this and simply accept what they tell us every step of the way. Now, I understand that these numbers could be off slightly, but the overall chart that we are given by the mainstream history, this chart, it shows that the world population was basically nobody compared to what it is today for thousands and thousands of years, telling us it was in the millions in the year 0, and then 600 million in 1700 worldwide, and finally 1800 hits, so we can start being attracted to people and we can finally have a kid. When this is complete nonsense in my opinion. To clear this up, I also don't think that we are told the true population total. But again, this is all in my opinion, and you are free to form your own opinions as always. So, found in 1620, after it was gutted by a fire in 1845. Another 1800s fire, yet again. Remember, every single one of these fires, all of these buildings, they are all in Edinburgh. So alarms should be going off at this point. Not every single Dunkin' Donuts goes up in flames. Yet, so many old world palaces that look like they're straight out of Disney Plus light up in flames. So of course, I'll keep going because we need to make sure that there isn't a single person still on the fence after this episode. Holyrood Palace, completed in 1678, where they just have to put this nod into the story. In November 1650, the palace was damaged extensively by a fire. Staying here in Edinburgh, of course, we now have the Inch House, completed in 1617, when another fire destroyed a grand staircase 45 years ago. And of course, no word on how that grand staircase was just lit up in flames. And we all know how often our staircases just go up in flames. No. Jenner's, a well-established department store located on Prince's Street, where the building is currently undergoing restoration, where we all know that restoration is destruction. What an incredible building. The detail on this thing is mind-blowing. When they founded the store in 1838, but its original building was destroyed by a fire in 1892. Are you kidding me? There was a building here on this site before this masterpiece. The very next year, 1893, they pick out an architect and open this building up 2 years later. No problem at all. This is incredible. And we know these fires are still going on today. We have shown this so many times. Attempts to destroy the old world and remove them from our view. Just like that staircase in the Inch House. On 23 January 2023, a fire broke out at the rear of the empty building. And nobody knows how the empty building started on fire, of course. South Leith Parish Church, a church that they found in 1483, which is all fully documented. The paperwork is in hand. The shipping costs were paid for by wire transferring the local cat. And I know this one is not an actual fire, but it was too hard to pass up when the church was damaged by English artillery fire. And this was probably, maybe, it might have been, but will forever be a mystery, probably when the eastern parts were destroyed. This all happening in 1560, you know, the same exact time as when they finally got the color blue and red for their duck feathers. This was the booming 1560s, remember. Kirk, built in the 17th century, where it used to be a church, but now used as a local gift shop. Where this site is very interesting, when a 3D survey was conducted 3 times, showing that a civilization occupied this area before the church was built, and they were all wiped out. So in 1974, the same year that the first 3D survey was conducted, they ended up ripping the church floors apart and excavating the entire floor area. And then the building was refloored in 2004. The Tron was supposedly erected 377 years ago by the Royal Master Mason. And in 1785, they start the destruction, removing both side aisles. 1828, the new spire was constructed to replace the original that was destroyed in the Great Edinburgh Fire of November 1824. And we know this building is much bigger than we can see under the floor. When they go on to say archaeological excavations took place under the church, revealing foundations of more buildings. And back to this Great Edinburgh Fire that we were just told about. A fire that destroyed 400 homes, 24 tenement blocks, all completely destroyed by the Great Fire in 1824. And then out of nowhere, they just blow another building up with a cannon. And could you imagine how many people must have been caught up in this massive fire? Can you imagine the devastation of this massive fire? A time period before cars to escape. Could you imagine the amount of people that would not have been able to escape? I mean, it must have been hundreds and thousands of people. Wait, what? What is this? Wait. 13 people? What? Not only are we told that they all escaped the flames and actually burning to a crisp, but we all understand that it only takes 2 to 10 minutes from the smoke from the fire to make a person pass out or even die. And this reminds me a lot of the Baltimore Great Fire, where everybody was just fine. Or 1889, when Seattle lit up in flames. 25 blocks. Everybody was totally fine. Not a single issue. Or the Galveston Great Fire in Texas in 1885, where I guess everybody was just all professionals at escaping great fires. Master building architects and master great fire evacuators. Just incredible people in the 1800s. Okay, one more for fun. The Great Fire of Toronto. Again, nobody. We all understand that the mainstream narrative is giving us stats and stories that aren't logical. And we can even go over to this random tower, the Cramen Tower, still located in Edinburgh, where in the 1970s, they seemed to be in full panic mode. Excavating this place as well, finding more things that they call medieval, when we know that it was really from the previous civilization. And in 2011, it was damaged by a fire. The Edinburgh Festival Theatre opened in 1892. In May of 1911, a disastrous fire on stage happened, where 11 people backstage alone didn't make it. Yet nobody in these great fires had any issues, which we know this doesn't add up at all. The Iverleith House, where they tell us that construction began in 1773 and wrapped it right up 1 year later, 250 years ago. We are supposed to believe that this was normal. And of course, the city buys the house in 1877 after restoration work, following a fire. Now I'm wondering, at which point do alarms go off for someone that the mainstream history is possibly not as true as they once believed? And in my opinion, a massive lie to explain away these buildings that were not built by our civilization, hiding a massive population that had the tools and technology to construct this way all over the world. Are we there yet? Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to keep going just to make sure we have everybody on board for the future episodes. Before we go on, I want to take a minute and thank all of our badge members, all of our Patreons, and every single subscriber. You are all awesome and really helping grow this channel to a bigger and bigger audience every single week. The Lock End House, built around 1820 until 2016 when a fire burned out the roof. St. Mary's Cathedral, Edinburgh, we are told was built in a single year from 1813 to 1814. And in 1892, a fire at the neighboring Theatre Royal that we talked about required them to make changes to this cathedral. Mayfield Salisbury Church, formerly known as the Mayfield North Church. It is located in a district of Edinburgh called Newington, built in just 4 years, from 1875 to 1879, nearly 20 years before the power tool, with extensive renovations carried out in 1969 following a major fire which destroyed most of the roof. Even the South Bridge holds a fire, where in 2002, the Cowgate Fire destroyed a section of the original buildings. And remember, when they destroy these buildings today, when we are all here to see it, with a mysterious fire, do you think they get to collect an insurance check? Do you think that it also destroys the old world building at the exact same time? Removing it, so that they no longer have to explain it into this fabricated timeline that they've made up. St. Margaret's School, established in 1890, when 13 years later, in December of 1903, a fire broke out at the East Suffolk Road building. So we found 22 fire narratives today in Edinburgh, Scotland alone, and we will try to beat that amount in cities all over the world. If you want me to do this game again in the future, let me know in the comments below which city you'd like me to expose next. I hope you all have a new or deeper understanding of the fire narratives and can see through the lies a little more. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. See ya.